Hello YouTube. For the fourth part of this video of my network update, I'm going to hang this TV that's in my living room onto this wall here. So this is the mount that we're going to be using for the TV. It comes with a bunch of instruction manuals, and here's how it looks like. And it's very heavy actually. It's the type that just kind of pulls away like this. And basically allows you to just point the TV in any direction. And you could also have it flat against the wall. And what I like about this mount actually so far is that it has come with all these different options on this side I have laid out for you. It'll work with various different size TVs. Comes with all the brackets for that. And it comes with even levelers. However, I wouldn't trust these levelers. If you have a better level, just go ahead and use the one you have. Because, I don't know, I just don't trust these little ones. It even came with this little level here. Also, it came with a free HDMI cable, which looks like it's a pretty good quality cable. I'm not sure. I might just end up using it though. And a whole bunch of different screws and bolts, because they don't know what type of TV you have, and they don't know how many spacers you need or what type of spacers you need and so forth. So they just include everything so that you could just kind of pick and choose. So we're gonna go ahead and start off by installing the mounting part that goes onto the TV itself into these mounting holes here. And once that's on the TV and I make sure that it's not blocking any of the outputs or inputs and the power output input and all that different type of stuff, if everything looks good to me and it looks like it's going to work, I'll go ahead and start drilling holes into the wall and start mounting the TV. So the way this is going to work is like so. It's the part that's going to mount on the TV, we're going to have to make it look like this. So actually, there's a problem here. I don't know if you guys could see that, but there's a bit of it looks like a paint overrun here. A little area right there. It's causing the two parts here not to sit right up against each other. So it's leaving this gap, which is causing the screw not to align correctly. And it's not working. I'm not able to screw it in. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a file and file this part down right here. Alright, so this part is done. The bracket is together. This is the part that will mount to the back of the TV. Next step, I'm going to have to see what type of spacers I'm going to use on the TV. Alright, so here are the mounting holes here on the TV. And there's 4 of them. And basically, here's all the different options I've got here that the mount came with. These are all the different spacers. And also all the different bolts that they provided, hoping one of them actually fit on this TV. In the past, I've had to work with the TV where the back side here wasn't flat. It had a lot of ridges and different input outputs I had to work around when installing brackets to the back. However, this TV is very flat and there's nothing to work around. So it should be very easy to install those brackets right up against the TV here. Now, one thing to remember is that these provided locations that you're going to mount the bracket onto, you don't have infinite space to just screw the bolt all the way through. You're going to damage the TV if you push through it. So you have to make sure that whenever you're considering which spacers to use, always use enough spacers to be able to basically balance out the amount of area right here that you need to screw into this hole here, but not leave it too long so that it goes all the way through and damages the TV. So I've decided to go with these two spacers here per bolt, and I'm also counting the amount of space that will be taken up by the bracket itself. So one issue here is that the bracket is too long here and it covers the antenna in port. Luckily, I'm not using the antenna in port and I don't expect to be using it anytime soon. So that's alright with me. The port I'm concerned more about is this power port, but luckily it looked like it was going to block it at first, but it's right directly below it, so I got lucky there. Alright, so the back of the TV is done now. The mount is nice and tight. I had initially left these screws here loose so that I could adjust these vertical brackets left and right as I needed them. But then after I went ahead and screwed the ones into the TV in, I went ahead and tightened those up as well. So I'm looking at the wall here and I'm trying to get a rough idea of where I'm going to mount the bracket that goes on the wall. And it's going to have to be, I'm going to go ahead and mount it below all of this. And I just basically need to figure out where the studs are. The way I've actually done that is, normally when you have an outlet like this, there's going to be a stud either on the left side of it or the right side of it because the box is mounted against that stud. Same with this side here. So I'm pretty sure at this point, judging just by eye looking at it, for 16 inches, because all the studs are 16 inches apart, the studs are either going to be here and here, or it's going to be here and here, or just kind of on this side of this one and on this side of this one. And actually 16 inches apart would indicate that the stud is going to be here and here. And if you don't have something like this and you still want to find the studs, you could use a stud finder. I got a couple here, for example. And they both work. They both do an okay job. It just depends which one you have at home. If you don't have one, definitely buy a stud finder. Here's an example of how it's used. I'm going to go ahead and put it right here. So you can see there's a stud there because the red light goes up once you go over the stud. So we know the stud is directly on this side of this outlet box. Now let's go ahead and check this side. And the stud should be right here. But let's go ahead and try this out. There you go. So that just indicates that the stud is definitely on this side of this box. So we know exactly where the two studs are. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the template they provided to just kind of visually see where I'm going to make those holes. Alright, so here's that template they gave me. And as you can see, they kind of suggested a few places where you're going to put the screws into the studs. And I'm going to put this up against the wall here. And I could already see that I'm going to use the very edge sides. So there's going to be a screw right there and one right there. And of course on the bottoms as well. So I've placed the template against the wall and leveled it. And I've also put these pins over it so that it stays in position. So here's the drill bits I'm going to use. And this is actually one of the screws that are going to be used to mount it. This came with the mount itself. So what I've done is I've found the corresponding drill bit for this screw Basically what you want to do is you want to find one where it's it covers the middle portion of the screw, but does not cover the threads. And that's the one you're gonna need to use to make your hole. Now, whenever I make a hole into the wall, especially with a large diameter drill bit like this, I usually start off with a small one like this one. And I make a small hole first and make sure that I'm hitting the stud and everything seems all right. And then once that's good, I'll go ahead and make another hole over it with the correct size drill bit. So let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, so the mount is in place. It's nice and sturdy. All 4 of these bolts went into a stud. And so yeah, this thing's not going anywhere. The other thing to remember when you're mounting this is that you have to you see how there's 2 notches here on the sides? That's the top side. And then there's this one notch here that's supposed to be the bottom. So just make sure you hang this. If you have the same mount as I do, just make sure you're looking at that when you're mounting it on the wall so that it's in the correct orientation. So here's the rest of the networking equipment that's on the other side of the wall. So what's going to happen is this here is directly behind the part of that side of the wall that was opened up. And all the wires that you're seeing here that's coming through it, then going to the various networking equipment, will be redirected back through the other side of the wall to come out from that side. Alright, so we're back on the other side again, and I was going to show you this portion here. This opening is directly on the other side of where the power outlets are on that wall. Alright, so this portion is done on this side of the wall. Everything's back the way it should be now. The only thing that's going to remain on this side is the access point, and that's it. And then this shelf will be used for decorations and pictures and so forth. So on the other side now is the mounted items. The modem and the router is mounted on the other side. Alright, so on this side I've got everything mounted, the wiring done, all the power's connected to everything, and next step is to cover all this ugliness with the TV. Alright, so everything's mounted, including the TV. The wiring's good, everything's turned on. And yeah, it came out just fine. Here's what it looks like from the front. Nice and clean, no wires. But when you look behind it, you can see all the chaos. Alright, so the TV's working and tested. That little small box down there, that's going to be on a shelf eventually. And I'm going to save that for part 5 of these videos I'm making. But the TV's working fine, the internet's working fine, the modem, the router, it's all back to normal. And so all it needs is this little shelf down here for that box, and also one other thing. Well, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you like videos like this, subscribe. Also watch the previous videos where I've put together the router, configured it, the modem and all that, the iBox down there that you see. All that are in previous videos you could watch as well. Thanks for watching.